Hi everybody, I'm Ariel, the Little Mermaid. My real name is Lance, but you all can call me Ariel. Let me see here. Many of you may disagree with this, but I'll explain that in a minute. But in the meantime, Thanksgiving is coming up, and what do you guys think the Little Mermaid is doing? Okay, I'm in a very nice apartment, and I'm going to celebrate Thanksgiving by myself cooking a turkey, unless some some people out there want to invite me to Thanksgiving dinner and come pick me up because I don't have a car. Yeah, I just pulled my turkey out of the freezer to unthaw. But yeah, so many of you probably don't believe I'm the Little Mermaid right now, but maybe this will help you guys believe. Okay, let me think here. For the last 14 years, people have been monitoring my life a lot, okay? For the last 14 years, and from my life from the beginning. And I've started to understand something. In the last 14 years, everybody's been staring at my mistakes, okay? So let's say 5% of my life is mistakes, and the other 95% is hard work, achievements, studies, help, kindness, all sorts of things, the other 95%. For the last 14 years, everybody has been staring at the 5% of my mistakes. So what I'm getting at is, let's say I died tomorrow, okay? I got hit by a car or something, and Lance Smith died. It wouldn't take long, okay, for everything that I did in my entire life to bleed through. And it wouldn't take long for everyone in my country and in this world to say, you know, holy shit, okay, that was Ariel, that was the Little Mermaid, and the Little Mermaid has died. Yeah, like the 5% of my mistakes would fade away, and the 95% of my life would bleed through. For like the last 5 years, I've been telling psychiatric doctors and psychological doctors and attorneys that talk to me, okay, I can compare myself to Leonardo da Vinci at this point. And I'm not trying to brag or boast. At this point, I'm just being honest. I can compare myself to Leonardo da Vinci. Does anyone know who Leonardo da Vinci was? So he's most famous for painting the Mona Lisa. It's a very famous piece of art, but he wasn't just a painter. He did other bigger things in life too. In my opinion, the biggest thing that he did do was, get a load of this. He's the one who invented the first blueprint for the airplanes that we have today, okay? I don't even think cars were going on. You know, people were working on developing a car. Well, Leonardo da Vinci, I don't know what he was studying, but he created a blueprint for an airplane that could fly. So I believe after he died, people found the blueprint. And people started using the blueprint to build airplanes. And eventually, you know, the blueprint got sent to everybody who's trying to create the airplane. And eventually the blueprint reached the Wright brothers, and the Wright brothers used the blueprint and created a plane that could fly. But the blueprint came from Leonardo da Vinci. Okay, so in my opinion, that was his biggest achievement. All the airplanes that we have today that are flying, okay, all of them, small ones and big ones, it came from the mind of Leonardo da Vinci. And he didn't just do that. He also made the first robot, believe it or not. So he created the first robot. I think what he did is he understood the gears and gadgets inside of a clock. He understood the gears and the gadgets and belts inside of a clock, and he created a small robot that could move, and then he created an even bigger one. He made a lion. He made a lion robot, and he shipped the robot to a king. And the king was tricked out with it. He was like, Leonardo da Vinci sent me the first robot ever. And it was a lion, and they like crank it and it starts moving on its own. Everyone was like, what is this all about? So Leonardo da Vinci made the first robot. He also made the first underwater scuba gear. Okay, he also made, I don't know what the study of organs is, but he actually worked under the Pope, and there was dead bodies in the church or something like that were getting ready to be cremated or buried, and Leonardo da Vinci would illegally dissect them, and he would write down what he was learning in a textbook. I don't know what that term is called. I always call it astrology or astronomy or something like that, and I'm not sure if I'm getting it correct. I don't know all terms in life by any means. Is it astrology? I like to make the joke, he studied pastrami, the study of organs. Yes, Leonardo da Vinci, he did write an entire textbook on what he learned about organs, and somebody took the textbook and learned something about it that did help doctors understand I don't know what it is. Astronomy? Yeah, I'm guessing astronomy. But anyways, he did that too. And actually, why Leonardo da Vinci was dissecting bodies, he was canvas painting too. And if you guys have ever seen what he canvas painted dissecting bodies, it was called The Big Heads or something like that. There's some of the worst paintings I've ever seen in my life. They're disgusting. Okay, these big, huge, ugly, nasty, just rotten looking heads, and people are fascinated by them. And I'm a little bit fascinated by them too, but I wouldn't have mind of never even have seen them. They were disgusting. But eventually, he did a lot of painting before he finally made the Mona Lisa come out. But yeah, so that's what I know what Da Vinci did, and there's probably more that he did too. So he did a bunch of things, and he was a painter. So I tell people honestly, yes, I can relate to that at this point. If I were to die tomorrow, okay, that 5% of my mistakes in life would fade away very quickly, and everything that I did in life would bleed through, okay? Let me see here. Again, I've been monitored heavy for the last 14 years, and I believe I've been monitored maybe my entire life, but I believe I started being monitored no later than the 3rd grade. When my 3rd grade teacher told my parents, I've been teaching 3rd graders for 15 years, and I'm not kidding. Your son is by far the most artistic student that I have ever taught. We do an art project, and when he turns in a piece of art, it's not different than all the other kids, but at the same time, it sticks out. So we all have to draw the same picture. I draw a picture that just dramatically sticks out, and it happens every damn time. So I'm not going to be surprised if I've been heavily monitored since the 3rd grade. So I mean, if I were to die tomorrow, what would bleed through to everybody? Especially people that have, I mean, I have work all over the place. So, I mean, they're going to say stuff like, yeah, if you start researching my work, if I were to die and everybody were to start researching my work, they would say, okay, he made a small medical discovery. Okay, he discovered what causes hallucinations. Okay, he helped fix the justice system because he created a new job and career in the justice system. Okay, to help the country and the world. Okay, he has helped develop psychology and psychiatry. Okay, what else? Okay, he wrote a book that helps people say no to drunk driving. Okay, he wrote 3 Greek mythology books. You'll find all of a sudden you look into his work. He wrote a children's book that is very touching. Okay, he wrote like 40 songs, and other people can now sing them and bring them to life. Okay, he wrote a script for a cartoon that's going to help people in poverty. Okay. You know, I mean, and there's other things that I've done out there too that my mind isn't bringing to thought right now. Okay. Yes, artwork. I have artwork all over the place. If I were to die, people would go check out my old acoustic guitar, and inside my guitar, okay, is an envelope, a manila envelope filled with like 10 pieces of my artwork. And they would actually stun everybody. One time when I was in a mental hospital, I spent most of the time, well, not most of the time, but I spent a huge amount of time trying to develop. I was making them because I wanted to put them on canvases someday, but I just had crayons and blank white paper. So every day I was sitting at this small desk in my room because it was the most quiet place in the hospital. And I was working on, well, sometimes in my room, sometimes out in the cafeteria, but I was working really, really hard on these images that I wanted to put on canvas, and I was doing them with crayons on a piece of paper. And they took a lot of time. I mean, again, my artwork's different. It's a different style than other artists, but it is a style that has existed for a long time. It's the idea of, you know, my art isn't complex, but it feels good to look at. And I had to teach myself what I was doing. The idea is, you know how sometimes you see a piece of art, it's one solid color and it has a big dot on it, and then the guy sells it for $5,000 and it's just a dot. I understand that artwork. So, I mean, I create a more depth version of that. But anyways, if you guys found those 10 crayon sheets, you know, I wanted to turn them into canvases someday. They would actually kind of stun everybody a little bit. It was kind of like someone drew these with crayons. Okay, that's interesting. But and it was neat. In the middle of all my trying to develop my art, I got excited in the mental hospital because they gave me a huge box of markers. Okay, yeah. I'm going to explain what created this. Okay, in the mental hospital, when a holiday gets over and a new holiday begins, all the windows in the hospital, in the dining room, or in like the TV room or the cafeteria, okay, we get to paint the windows with wash off paints. And so when the holiday is over, they wash them all clean off and they bring the paints off, and we get to do something. We get to do something according to the holiday. And this one time, I just wanted to make a cool picture for everybody to look at and not really go based off the holiday. And I had a cool idea of, I'm not sure what the first one was, but it was just a very, very simple idea where I drew a tree and I had a branch growing out and the sun was growing off the branch. And I think the moon was growing out of the tree or something like that. And everyone thought it was really cool, and so did I. So it was like a tree, and on the left side the sun was growing off the tree like a fruit, and on the other side cherries were blooming off of it. It was something like that, but I really liked it, and so did everybody else. But yeah, I've spent anywhere from 2 weeks to 14 months in a mental hospital. So I mean, like I've hit every holiday in the mental hospital, and we're always drawing new things on the windows for each holiday. And one of the funniest ones that I did, and it did crack everybody up a little bit, it was Halloween, and we're all supposed to draw Halloween things in. And of course, when I come into the mental hospital, I'm able to get everybody more excited about doing projects like that. But anyway, so everybody's getting into drawing something Halloween. People are doing pumpkins and ghosts and spiders and witches and stuff. And when they looked at my window, they all kind of cracked up because I didn't even draw a picture. I just wrote a message. I just wrote, what did I write? I think I just wrote, "What is Emily Rose doing right now?" And it did crack everybody up. We're all doing Halloween stuff, and I just wrote, "What is Emily Rose doing right now?" And does anyone know who Emily Rose was? I think there was a movie called The Exorcism of Emily Rose, where there's this little girl who supposedly had a scary demon in her, and a Catholic priest is trying to scare the demon out of her. And Emily Rose does some really, really crazy stuff. And I don't know what the real story of Emily Rose is. Did Emily Rose live past her exorcism, or how did Emily Rose die? But anyways, it was just funny to everybody. Halloween's coming around. I just wrote, "What is Emily Rose doing right now?" And it cracked everybody up, including myself. But anyway, so one holiday season, I drew this painting, and the idea was something very simple. It was just make a tree and have the sun growing out of a branch. I think the first one didn't even have the moon. Yeah, I think it was just the sun. So, I had the sun growing off a branch with a cherry on the other side, and green leaves on the other thing. And I was like, yes, I like that. And so did everybody else. So, anyways, a few weeks later, staff at the mental shelter, they brought out a huge box of markers. It was like 100 markers. And I was like, right on, I'm going to try doing something artistic with these markers. I want to work on because I made that first on the window, and now I want to do a canvas painting of it someday. So now I'm going to write it on paper. I'm going to draw it on a sheet of paper with markers, and then keep it, and then put it on a canvas. So they bring out the markers, and every damn marker was dry, and they were filled with ink, but they were all dry for some reason. Like another patient took all the things off and let them dry out. But I loved all the colors that they had, and so I decided to try to draw something anyways. So I'm using dry markers, and I'm trying my hardest because I'm tired of using crayons, you know, and so I'm using these markers, and some of them have a little bit of wet to them, and I'm using these markers, and I put a lot of time into it. You know, it took me a few days to create this. You know, I was putting like 4 hours in every day. It may have taken me even longer, but at the end of it, it was the best piece of art that I've ever done in my life. So it was this tree. Yeah, so I drew a tree, and the trunk, a crescent moon grew out of the middle of the trunk, and then I drew branches all through it. And then I started to try to color in leaves. And then I started to create different leaves that worked really, really good. And then I turned the leaves into pink flowers. And I turned the pink flowers into black stems coming out of them. And so I had the crescent moon in the middle. And I had ran out of a green, so I was forced to use another green. So I had created this blue moon with 2 colored green leaves with pink flowers and black stems, and then to the left I drew a branch, and I drew the sun again, and to the right I think I drew a strawberry. Yeah, exactly, yes. I think to the right I drew a strawberry growing out of a branch, because a strawberry grows from a bush on the ground and not a tree. So anyways, I got done with it, and I was like, yes, I finally drew something good. Like, all of my artwork, when you see it, it's peaceful to look at, but it's not something extremely breathtaking and extremely just wow. I finally made one that just made me say wow. I was like, yes, I finally made one of those pieces that is worth showing everybody. And, you know, and I remembered that when Leonardo da Vinci, when he made the Mona Lisa, I think it was only on a 12 by 10 piece of paper, or on a 12 by 10 canvas. I don't think it was much bigger than that. If it was, it may have been a 14 by 10. When he was done, he knew he had created something wonderful, but he wasn't sure what he had done. And it was said that whenever he went places and traveled places, he always took the painting with him. He just held it with him, walking around. He would hold it in front of you and show you the Mona Lisa. And I thought about doing this with this marker thing that I did. So I'm in the mental hospital, and you know, I created it with markers on just a regular 12 by 10 piece of paper, blank piece of paper, and you know, it just utterly took my breath away. I was like, I finally made one of those pieces that makes me happy, and other people are gonna like this too. And I did show my psychiatrist, and his eyes lit up, and he goes, "You drew that?" And he goes, "The next Mona Lisa," that's what he said. And everyone else was pretty impressed with it too. And I mean, in a mental hospital like that, it's irritating because I'm busting out artwork like this, and everything I say is coherent and intelligent, and at the end of it they say, you know, you have a mental illness, you need to keep taking your medications. It's super irritating. I mean, I had medical doctors telling the psychiatrist he doesn't have a mental illness, and you know, I had staff saying, you know, my staff in the entire hospital, they'll tell the psychiatrist, Lance has the most stable mood, okay, in the entire hospital, okay? And then the psychiatrist diagnosed me, okay, with a stable mood disorder. Very irritating times for me. But I did create this really breathtaking piece of art, and I believe, right, I'm trying to find a better name for it, but all I call it right now is Moon over Sun. Because I mean, right now, if we look at the sun is over the moon, and the idea was in the tree was the moon grew out of the tree and the sun grew under it. But anyway, so I thought about walking around with this piece of art just like Leonardo da Vinci did, but I needed some kind of plastic hard case so it wouldn't bend. And I'm in a mental hospital, and you never know when someone's going to steal your stuff or a cop's going to transfer you somewhere different and they don't let you go back to your room and grab your piece of art. So I put this beautiful piece of art I created, I put it in a manila envelope and I shipped it to my parents in Hawaii, hoping that my parents would just put it in a closet or something. And that's what my mother told me that she did. So yeah, if I were to die tomorrow, people could investigate. They could go to my parents' house in Hawaii. They would find my really nice $900 Taylor acoustic guitar, and they would find a manila envelope with like 10 pieces of artwork and one extremely breathtaking piece of artwork of a tree that has a crescent moon growing in it with like these green leaves. There's like turquoise green and swamp green leaves with like pink Chinese flowers growing out of them. And there's a strawberry and a sun growing out of the tree. It's just a really wonderful piece of art. It's just a really wonderful piece of art, I tell you guys what. And I want to be able to bring it out onto a canvas someday, that exact one, because, I mean, if my parents threw it out, that's going to be irritating, because I've had to put up with that a lot in the last 14 years of my lyrics and my ideas and my artwork. People just keep throwing it in the trash. And, you know, it's how do you, I mean, it teaches you not to get mad in life, you know, about certain things. Yeah, it teaches you how to calm your own heart when something that big gets thrown away. But yeah, you know, like, yeah, I really hope that piece of artwork didn't get thrown away, because, I mean, that first copy that I did of that tree, I did it just right. So if I were to try to do it again, it's going to come out a little different, and it's not going to come out like that original one. I really hope it still exists, though. But I have stuff like that all over the place. One time when I got released out of the... here's a true story. Get a load of this. One time when I got released out of the mental hospital, I got sent back to my hometown to a halfway house. And a halfway house is a home in your society that's just for mental patients. And they can stay there and while they transfer back into society. And it was a really nice halfway house, and it's monitored 24/7. And there was one guy there that was treating me like shit, and some weird stuff happened, and I started moving artwork on the walls around, and started doing some other stuff, and I was in a battle with this guy. And one afternoon I was making French onion soup, and the guy said, "You have to go. Okay, we're calling the cops. You have to get off the premises." And let me see here. What had I done when I was there? I had just gotten out of the mental hospital, and I always achieve something when I'm in the mental hospital. This time I had created a drawing. It was very, very simple. I called it Unfailing Love. It was a vine with It was one vine with two roses growing out of it. So I made it was basic. The idea was it's just soulmates connected. There was a red rose and a pink rose, and I called it Unfailing Love. But very simple, but I wanted to bring this piece out on a canvas. The other thing I did was this amazing poem called I think I called it the Grim Reaper's Rose or something like that. It was the best poem I have ever read. It was so cool, man. Like, this poem came out freaking perfect, so dark and peaceful and neat. And my mind was trying to write a story about the Grim Reaper from this poem. And yeah, so when I left the mental hospital, I had this picture and this poem, and I go into this halfway house. And when I was there, I was trying to get the guy who was harassing me arrested. I actually went to an FBI headquarters, and the FBI turned me down like they always do. With my paychecks, there was a gas station, and I started buying a collection of cool swords and throwing darts from them, or throwing ninja stars from them, and I would turn them into my halfway house co-workers, and they would keep them in their office. Okay, I'm smart. There was one day, I was working on something. I was working on getting my hand surgery done, and I didn't want to apply for a job until my hand surgery was done because it was causing me nausea. So, I've been telling friends and family, I can't really do any job right now because I feel like throwing up 24/7 because of my hand. And they say, no, Lance, it's not because of your hand. And I was like, well, they need to do the surgery on my hand first, and if the nausea doesn't stop from that, then I know it's something else, and I'll have to find a job that accommodates me with my nausea, but I need to get the surgery done first. So when I got out of the mental hospital, I had insurance to get the surgery done, and I was working with appointments to get it done and stuff, but to make extra money, I had an idea. I remembered as a child I would walk the train tracks, and I would find tons of railroad spikes and other weird pieces of metal. So I took a couple heavy bags with me, and I walked the railroad track for like 2 miles, and I probably picked up about 60 pounds of metal. And then I got on the bus, and I took the 60 pounds of metal to my halfway house, and they said, what are you going to do with this? And I said, I'm going to go to a junkyard and cash it in. And they said, okay, leave it there. So anyways, a few weeks later, I get kicked out of the halfway house for making French onion soup, and the cops show up, and they said, we just want you to get your stuff out on the sidewalk, and after we leave, you're not allowed to step over the sidewalk onto this property. And before I had done that, I was going on a walk one day, and I found a free lawnmower. And I grabbed it and I took it to the halfway house, thinking to myself, I can turn this into the junkyard too for like $10 or something like that. And I was trying to find someone in my city that would give me a ride to the junkyard. Anyways, I get kicked out, and all my stuff is on the sidewalk, and I don't know what to do. And I think I was walking back to the FBI agency to ask them for some guidance or something like that. So I had my backpack of my most important stuff, meaning the drawing and the poem. And when I was walking, and I tell you guys I'm aerial, I saw this man, an old man, sitting I was walking down the street in a nice neighborhood, and I saw an old man sitting on his step smoking cigarettes, and he kind of looked like Scuttle the seagull. And I think I shouted at him. I was like, "Are you Scuttle?" And he goes, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, I'm Ariel, the Little Mermaid." And he's like, "You can talk to me." And I talked with him, and I let him know what's going on. And he said I could sleep in his house. So he was an old grandpa, a retired chef, who had grandchildren and stuff. And he let me take a shower, and he let me sleep in his house, and he let me put all my stuff in his basement. Like a week went by, and when he left the house, he would make me leave, and when he was around, he would let me sleep there. And I would use my EBT and bring like chuck steaks to him, and he would cook them really good because he was a chef. So I put my 60 pounds of metal in his dark garage. And one day I went on a short walk down by the river, and I went into a new tackle shop, and just for fun, I had like $1 on me, and I told the lady, I have $1, can you find a cool fishing lure for me? And she said, "What do you want one fishing lure for?" And I was like, just kind of like for a good luck charm. She goes, "Actually, I got something for people just like you." And she took me back to this corner, and she goes, "Do you like any of these tackle boxes?" And I said, "Sure." She goes, "Well, you can pick one for yourself, and you can pick out a fishing pole too, and that's for for people that don't have a lot of money. You can just have it for free." So I picked out an old tackle box and a fishing pole, and the tackle box was filled with really good fishing gear, and I took it back to the man. And he watched me clean up the tackle box and set up my fishing pole, and then I put the tackle box and the fishing pole in his garage again. And another couple of nights went by, and in the middle of the night when I was on a walk, I found someone who had a free speaker, a huge free speaker that weighed a lot. And they said take for free, and I was like, I can take this to the pawn shop and get $5 or $10, maybe $40 for it. So I put it on my shoulders, and I walked this damn speaker a mile through the city on my back, and I reached the man's house, and he goes, "What are you doing with the speaker?" I was like, "I'm going to sell it someday." And he goes, "Go put it in the garage." And the man was getting ready to give me a ride to the junkyard to cash in the 60 pounds of metal. But one day I came to the man, and he told me, "You can't come into my house anymore." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "My landlord called me and said you're not allowed to be here." And I said, "Okay, can I have my stuff?" And he told me, "I gave all your stuff to your old halfway house. I don't have any of your stuff." Okay. I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm not allowed to go to I'm trespassed from my halfway house." And he goes, I was like, "I'm not even allowed to knock on the door. They wouldn't take my stuff back." And he said, "Yes, I gave all your stuff to the halfway house." And so I actually went to the FBI agency and said, "Hey, you guys are detectives. You guys are the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Could you guys go knock on this guy's door and say, is Lance's stuff still in your garage? Because I really wanted that picture I drew, okay, and the poem that I wrote. It's sitting in his garage, clear. So in his garage, I have 60 pounds of metal. I have my 2 backpacks filled with my belongings. I have that huge speaker. I have my knife collection, my sword collection, okay. And he tells me I just can't go in there, And so I reported it to the FBI, and the FBI gives me the same pitch that they always do. They say something like, in order for us to make an investigation, it has to be connected to a statute, and that's not connected to any statutes. And I was like, how many statutes are there? And they're like, I was like, "Do you know all the statutes?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was kind of like, using common sense, there's probably a ton of statutes. Now, are there? He's like, "Yeah, like thousands." So, the FBI agent was completely full of shit, and there was probably something that they could have done for me there. I mean, this was a very, very small investigation. You know, they could have done something for me, but they just threw statutes and shit at me like that. So, anyways, I deal with shit like that all the time. You know, so I mean, like throughout my city and other cities that I go to, I have stuff like that hidden all over the place. Like, yeah, you know, in this random guy's house, down in his dark garage, I've got some really cool artwork that's worth a lot of money. I even told the damn FBI agent, look, this drawing that I did and this piece of art, or this poem that I wrote, there was like 10 other pieces of art in there too. I was like, they're easily going to be worth over $1 million. Could you guys just go talk to the guy and go into his fucking basement and check to see if my 2 backpacks are still in it, because he claims that he gave it back to the halfway house. Yeah, so that did happen. But yeah, so right now I'm making this video. What I'm claiming is, if I were to die tomorrow, people would all say, "Holy shit, that was the Little Mermaid. That was Ariel." Everything that I did in life would start to bleed through. The speeches I made, the artwork I made, the inventions I made, the improvements that I've made for this world. It would all bleed through, and people would say, "Yes, yeah, that was Ariel. That was the Little Mermaid, and the Little Mermaid has died." But yeah, so I'm making this video right now because I'm trying to see if there's a family or group of people that want me over for Thanksgiving, or if there's anyone out there who wants to come enjoy Thanksgiving with me at my apartment. You know, this is a true story that happened in my life. Okay, yeah, it goes back to that halfway shelter I was, okay? I was working my hardest to get my bone chip removed, and I had insurance. I had appointments set up. Okay, yes, I had appointments set up. I got kicked out of the halfway house. I went into the man's house for like 3 weeks, the guy that I called Scuttle, and he would call me Ariel. You know, Scuttle is the name of the seagull from the movie The Little Mermaid. And then he kicked me out, and I became homeless. And while I was homeless, I had a doctor's appointment. And keep in mind, okay, I have like 5... Okay, I have a big family in my hometown, and like 5 of them, okay, 5 different pieces of my family have really big houses with spare bedrooms, but I'm not allowed to, you know, I even tell them what my problems in life are. You know, my first one is, I need this bone chip removed. After that, it's going to be super easy for me to get a full-time job. And, you know, I tell people, you know, my ex-girlfriend believes that I was doing drugs, and I haven't done one illegal drug in my life. I haven't done one, not one, in my entire life. And there's this drama in my hometown going between me and my ex-girlfriend because she believes I'm a drug addict doing heroin and meth. But anyways, so my family isn't helping me at all. You know, I tell them, you know, the main thing that I need in life is for you guys to support me. You know, just let me sleep on the floor or the couch while I work with doctors to get this removed. After that, I'm going to be okay. But my 5 big families won't let me sleep in their house, okay? Because I don't know. I guess it goes to the story of Romeo and Juliet. Why does everyone do and say a bunch of dumb shit in these Shakespeare books? And it was kind of like, I just saw it happen before my own eyes. You know, I get an injury and I need help, and everybody just goes ape shit. But anyways, so I live with this guy for 3 weeks, and he boots me out, and I'm homeless again. And I had a doctor's appointment. I made it to my doctor's appointment, and there's a difference between a medical doctor and a bone doctor. A bone doctor is called something specific. All doctors are called something specific. You know, there's like blood doctors and nutrition doctors. This was a real bone doctor. And this bone doctor, and I've worked with bone doctors before because I've broken I've broken my left arm 3 times. And one of my broken bones on my left arm, it was a bone doctor who found a bone chip in my elbow, and he said that needs to get removed, so he removed the bone chip from my elbow. It was a surgery. So anyways, I went to a bone doctor, and he took an x-ray, and you know, within minutes he goes, "Oh yeah, that's a granuloma." Okay. He goes, that might be a bone chip. That needs to be removed right away. And he goes, there's a good chance it's causing a infection down your arm. It could be all the way down to your elbow. I need you to go get an MRI done so I know how deep the infection's going. And, you know, it felt really good that he told me that, because I'm getting pains all the way down to my damn elbow. And I'm homeless, so I take the transit bus out by where my MRI is supposed to be done, and it's not going to be for like a week from then. So I'm from there. So I was just being homeless for a week, and I was sleeping in a park. This is kind of a funny story, kind of. So this park that I was sleeping at, it was actually right next to a police station, but there was this small park amphitheater made of concrete, and there was like 5 of us homeless people sleeping in it, and we were taking care of each other a little bit. It was kind of funny, making sure that we all had good blankets and pillows and stuff and food and you know, just trying to make the most of being homeless together. But I had just bought brand new $90 Converse All-Star Chuck Taylors, some silver and silver and black ones. They're really cool. I was sleeping in this amphitheater with like 5 homeless men, and I had my backpack, my shoes, and my wallet laid next to me, and my doctor's appointment was in the morning at like 10 o'clock, and I had set my phone alarm, and I think I kept that in my pocket. And my phone alarm goes off at like 7 in the morning, and I wake up, and my backpack has been stolen, and my shoes have been stolen, and my wallet did not get stolen. So it was funny because it was super, you know, that was bad luck, but at the same time, it was one of those moments of my life where I was like, I kind of feel like the luckiest moment of my life, because the people who stole from me chose not to steal my wallet, and it had a $5 bill in it, but you know, it also had my social security card and my birth certificate and my ID, and they chose not to steal it. But they did steal my brand new $90 Converse All-Star Chuck Taylor silver and black shoes, and that was super irritating, because especially since I had a doctor's appointment to get to. So I woke up in the morning, and my shoes and my backpack were gone. I put my wallet in my backpack, and I had socks on, and I walked to the doctor's office in socks, and I go in there, and I'm sitting in the doctor's office in socks, and they're just like, so why don't you have shoes on? I was kind of like, I don't know if you'd believe me if I told you, but I'm homeless and my shoes got stolen and I had a doctor's appointment. And they're like, well, why are you homeless? And it's kind of like, well, I have a payee who's a criminal and he steals my money. And, I'm trying to get him arrested right now, but right now I'm trying to get my bone chip removed, But anyway, so they did the MRI and they sent it off to the doctor, and all the hospital staff were really happy with me. And I left, and they all treated me nice. And then I got an idea. The bone doctor I met with, he was a really cool person, and I went to the library, and I wrote a 2-page letter about how I became homeless, and I told him that I see him as a father figure, and I asked him, could I crash on your couch or your floor, or could I? Do you know anywhere I could sleep until my bone surgery? And I did tell him what this one part may have alarmed him was the very ending part. I told him that I'm the best fist fighter in the city, and when you get this bone chip removed, I'm gonna go fight a couple assholes in the city or something like that. But anyway, so I wrote this letter about how I became homeless and how I see him as a father figure. I asked him if I could stay at his house, and I told him that when you get this removed, I'm going to go soldier boy for a girl in the city. And so I dropped off this letter to his office clerk and said, give this to the doctor, please. And if he said no, I would be fine like that. And if he said yes, that would be really, really cool. Either way, I was just happy that he's going to do the surgery really, really soon, like 3 weeks from when I turned that off. But the next day, I decided I was homeless, and I decided to take a long walk down to the skate park. I'm going to walk 10 miles to the skate park. I'm in a happy mood. This bone chip that's causing me level 8 pain is going to get removed. And my phone rings, and it's a clerk from my hospital saying, you've been trespassed from Cadillac Hospitals, and you're not welcome on the property of any Cadillac Hospital. And it just broke my heart. Life's going bad enough as it is, and a doctor kicks me out of his office, and it made me wonder, is he connected to the criminal judge that has put frames on me for like the last 10 years? I'm a good, smart person, and anyways, I get trespassed from this guy, and I wondered if he was connected to the criminal judge, and I got my Social Security check like a week from there. So I bought I rented a cheap motel for a year, and I bought clown paint, and I put Joker paint on, and I developed a strategy to find out if this doctor was a good guy or not. I was going to make a sign and go trespass onto his hospital and make a clever sign talking to this doctor. So if I got arrested, I would call him to court. Because at this point, when I would get arrested, I understood that if I go to if I'm given a speedy trial, I'm going to win. And the worst that the criminal judge can do is send me to a mental hospital for 12 months and then release me. That's the very worst he can do. The very worst. So I put Joker paint on, and when I put the Joker paint on, I remembered there was this legal judge in court who told me that if I do something wrong in court, then he's going to have me squashed like a bug, which was a death threat. And so I put Joker paint on, and when I was devising this plan against against this doctor, I decided to check on my restraining order that was given to me from my ex-girlfriend for doing drugs, which I didn't. So I went and checked on it, and my restraining order was over, so that felt good. And I decided, with my Joker paint on, I'm walking around in court, everyone can see me, and I go into the courtroom, and I find that judge who threatened to kill me like a bug, and it was filled with people, and I walked in as the Joker, and I said, you be quiet right now. You're a criminal. You threatened to kill me. Get off that stand, and go sit in that criminal box right now. You're not a judge. And he's like, Lance, you're in court right now. And I was like, yeah, I know. Get off. You're done. Okay. Get down right now. He goes, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. And I was like, you can do that, and I'm going to leave. And I told him, I'll have you know, I'm going to follow law, and I'm going to give you the death sentence. He goes, is that a threat? And I go, no, that's not a threat. I'm going to make it happen. And then I walked out, and I went to a men's shelter to get lunch. And then I was walking back to a gas station. The cops pulled me over and they arrested me and took me to jail for threatening to kill the judge who threatened to kill me earlier. So I got a charge for threatening to kill a judge in a courtroom with Joker paint on. And every time I put the Joker paint on, I get better at it. So, I had told the judge, I'm going to follow law and give you the death sentence, which is probably enough to get arrested. So if I would have worded that better, then I wouldn't have gotten arrested. But, again, I did ask I pled innocent and asked for a speedy trial, and I would have won because, this judge, it's on the books, I want to say about 9 years before, I had come into the courtroom and I had thrown a piece of paper about 4 feet to my right. And he said, I want Lance to come up next. And in front of all the people, he goes, if you do something like that in my courtroom again, I'm going to have you squashed like a bug. That was a death threat from him, and that's like a minimum of 5 years in prison just for that. So the idea was, I asked for a speedy trial, and I was going to say, yes, 9 years ago, this judge said he's going to squash me like a bug. And I just came into the court letting them know, I'm going to press charges against him for threatening me like that as a judge. And I'm 110% sure I would have won my case because, the idea is, I came in as the Joker. When I come into court, I can dress like I want. So, I can put a nice suit on with a tie, or I can dress up like the Joker and take them down that way too. But they know that I'm going to win my case if they just follow law and policy. They're 100% sure Lance is going to win his case. He's going to win money, and we're going to go to jail. So what's the worst we can do? We can't frame him into prison. We can't frame him into jail. We can frame him into the mental hospital. So let's do that. So they framed me back into the mental hospital. So when I got arrested for threatening the judge, I didn't even get a chance to battle the doctor for kicking me out of the hospital for wanting the bone chip. But I wrote this letter to the doctor when I was in there. I was like, look, man, I'm Lance Smith. Some people in this city know me as the Joker. I want you to know that, clowns are people too. And so I made a big, long thing about it. And I even told him, Mr. Freeze is a doctor. There was this, I can show you this guy, this right now. I learned something that was cool about the Batman thing was, Batman is boss of the cops. Robin is boss of the athletes. Scarecrow is boss of the farmers. Bane is boss of the mechanics. Mr. Freeze is boss of the doctors. The Penguin is boss of the businessmen. The Joker is boss of psychiatrists. What else is there? Two-Face is boss of the judges. Jigsaw Puzzle is boss of the technicians. Who am I leaving out? The Riddler is boss of... Who is the Riddler boss? Agents. Yeah, the Riddler is boss of agents. Anyway, so all the top Batman characters and Batman and Robin, they tie to the leaders of all the workforces there are. I thought it was really cool. And when I'm in mental hospitals, I'm telling people they should make a Batman movie or a Batman series where Batman, Robin, and all the top villains work together to keep a city safe. You know, they're all geniuses, and they're all leaders of the certain things. You know, it's neat. I was like, look, you list them all out, and they all tie to a certain body of people. You know, that's what I got out of the thing. I was like, you know, that's actually cool. You know, this is the leader of this person. This is the leader of this person. They should all work together to create a city with no crime. But anyways, I wrote this message out to the doctor, and at the end of it, I told him, you know, as the Joker, I told him, you know, I tell people that I see a city as one big family that works together, and your friends are the family you get to know in your own free time. You know, sometimes your own family members become your friends. Sometimes your friends become people you know from work or school. But whoever you get to know in your free time, those are your friends. But the city, we're one big family that works together. And I told the doctor, you know, I have a really big family, but I don't have any friends. And I asked the doctor to bail me out and just to help me out, but he didn't. And I got sent back to the mental hospital. And I worked with the medical doctor there, and he called my doctor that trespassed me from the hospital, and the doctor told him, you know, yes, he does have a granuloma. He needs his surgery done. He told the doctor that he trespassed me because he was afraid that I was going to lawsuit him if the bone chip didn't cure the pain in my hand. And, you know, I don't know what was going through the doctor's head. Maybe he was afraid of me going soldier boy. Maybe he was afraid that I would lawsuit him if everything didn't go through. But I mean, if the judges just simply follow their policies and law, everything would have been fixed in 2011, after my first arrest dealing with a criminal. But yeah, so I wanted to mention that to people was, you know, I do honestly see a city as one big family that works together. And if you want to go on a bigger scale, I see the country as one big family that works together. And we can go even bigger. I actually see the entire world as one big family that works together. And your friends are honestly the people that you get to know in your free time. Sometimes it is your family. Okay, it could be a brother. It could be your grandpa. It could be your mom. Or it could be your neighbor, or someone you know at school, or someone you know at work, you know. And but yeah, you know, I've just told people, you know, I have a really big family, but I ain't got no friends, because I see an entire city as a family that works together. But yeah, so the point of this video is I'm trying to get some people to invite me over for Thanksgiving, or to get some people to come over and enjoy Thanksgiving with me. that, and I wanted to explain to everybody, if I died tomorrow, that 5% of my mistakes would fade away, and the 95% of the good I did in this world would start to bleed through, and Lance Smith would be known as the Little Mermaid. Ariel has died. And I'm not giving it away right now. Me dying as the Little Mermaid would be the biggest glory in my life. If I died, there's a trick to that, which is why it's the wisdom of me. And I'll tell that wisdom to everybody later. It's the idea is dying as somebody good rather than dying as someone evil. People say there isn't an afterlife. Actually, there is, and if you die a good person, you're given a better afterlife. So if you die as being known as the Little Mermaid, you're going to be given the best afterlife that you can be given. I'll explain that better later someday, but I made this video trying to prove to everybody that I am Ariel the Little Mermaid, and trying to get a family to invite me over for Thanksgiving, or trying to get some people to come over and join me for Thanksgiving. I have a Facebook that people can contact me at, or anyone is welcome to text or call my cell phone at 808-281-3821. But yeah, talking about that bleeding through thing, I mean, even what I discovered with Batman would actually bleed through. Everybody enjoys the Batman, the character. Not everybody, but a big portion of people are into the Batman scene. And if I died, I think somebody would take that idea and say, yes, let's make a cartoon where all these characters work together to create a peaceful city. I think someone would take that, just because my mind took the time to say, look at this, you guys, now give it a positive meaning and see if it lowers the crime rate in a city. But yeah, anyways, that's something that my mind took the time to figure out and develop. So yeah, I made this video to see if I can get some people to invite me over for Thanksgiving, or to see if I can get some people to come enjoy Thanksgiving with me. And I made this video to prove to everybody that I really am Ariel, the Little Mermaid. And I'll tell you guys something funny about making this video. This video is about an hour and 10 minutes long. For the last 30 minutes, I've had to take a shit really, really bad, and I've been holding it in for the last 30 minutes, and it's getting really uncomfortable, so I need to end this video so I can go take a shit. But anyways, today's Saturday, and Thanksgiving is on Thursday. I have a frozen turkey, and I have no idea how long it takes to unthaw a turkey. So I just pulled my turkey out of the freezer. It looks like it'll take 5 days to unthaw, but it's probably more like 2 days. But I'm going to unthaw it and keep it in the fridge, because that would really suck, it's Thanksgiving morning and you're ready to cook your turkey and you take it out of the freezer and it's kind of like, I'm going to bake it in the oven. I just don't think it would work that way. It might, but I don't think it works that way. I know you're not supposed to put a frozen turkey in a big thing of oil. I've heard bad things about that. But yeah, I'll show you guys my turkey and we'll end this video. Oh, then I'm going to go take a shit. All right. Oh, there's my turkey unthawing. I've actually, even though I don't have much to work with, I got a good recipe for my turkey this year. All right, I got to go drop a deuce. So hopefully I'll get an invitation to Thanksgiving this year, or someone will show up to my apartment this year. Okay. If not, I'm going to enjoy Thanksgiving dinner all by my lonesome. At least I'll have a turkey this year. This hasn't happened in like 14 years for me. All right. Have a good day, everybody.